Peter chapter number 3. 1 Peter chapter number 3. Look at verse number 12, if you will, with me. 1 Peter 3, verse number 12. We've been dealing with focuses for believers in the midst of suffering. As we've looked at 1 Peter chapter 3, we understand that one of the focuses is that we must relate to one another properly. We learned that in the first 8 verses of 1 Peter 3. Then last week we dealt with that important subject of how we are to respond to hurt in times of suffering. And we learned that from verse number 9, not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing. We're called to bless those that hurt us, and we're also called to the blessing that comes from that. We dealt with that last week. We also dealt with releasing heart issues. Remember, if we're going to keep our tongue, we have to refrain. If we're going to refrain our lips, we have to renew our heart. And sometimes our heart gets off, and sometimes we get heart issues. But they that will love life, in verse 10, and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that speak no guile. We're in verse number 12 now, and we're looking at the reality of God's protection. Dealing with suffering people. It is possible that when Peter wrote this, some of these believers may have had friends that were executed by government. The time of Nero in the Roman Empire, if you study it historically, was not a friendly time towards Christians. It was very, very violent. And so Peter's writing, and he writes verse number 12, and he says, "For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the